Welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. I am your host, Luke Falaska, and we have a fantastic lineup for you tonight. Thank you for joining us too. There's a lot going on right now in the world. We've got the coronavirus, which is spreading rampant. We just heard that the NCAA has canceled spectators for the tournament for March Madness, so there won't be anybody in the stands, I think, apart from maybe some immediate family, camera crews, and a few other folks, so you'll have to watch it from your couch, which I would be doing anyway. So there's a lot of that happening. Quarantines all over the place. We're going to get into that and how that relates to the freight market, because boy is it escalating. But first, I have my guest returning for the second time on With Sonar, Kyle Taylor. Thank you for joining me today. How are you doing? Thank you. I like to you clap for yourself. Yeah. You deserve an applaud. I'll give one to you.
You know, I'm going to be like the NCAA players here. We're going to be playing without spectators, so they're going to have to act like we are.
What's that going to be like?
I actually saw that LeBron said that he only plays for the spectators, so he was debating on Twitter the other day that he wasn't going to be playing if there wasn't fans present. Yeah. So if you start seeing that, some of players' associations get involved, and if you get big players like that are out, don't know how much that's going to affect the NCAA, but you know those.
Well, there's a lot of that. I mean, I think players, they feed off of the energy in the crowd. Yeah. I mean, they can't sense anything that's happening on TV. While there's way more people watching on TV, that crowd really drives, I think, them. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and when you're in the middle of March Madness and your team throws down a three, I mean, there's no energy like that you can recreate.
I mean, how many games happen at the buzzer? And those upsets, I mean, the crowd erupts.
Yeah, as if my bracket wasn't already beat, now it is.
Right, exactly. No, mine's going to be destroyed. By the way, we need to get a bracket going for the office here. Do you guys have a bracket going? Leave us a comment below. Who's your winner for March Madness? Because there's got to be a winner.
Got to be.
They're not going to cancel the tournament. And if they do, it'll be very sad. So hopefully it continues. It looks like it's going to go on, just not with anybody in the stands.
Right.
Or very few.
Yep.
Great. Kyle, the coronavirus, man, it's everywhere. So it's March Madness, the markets. We follow the financial markets pretty closely. Yeah. We've got on all the TVs, and I imagine a lot of you folks do as well. They've been crashing. They said today the Dow finally entered a bear market.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a very interesting time because you've had all these different pieces that we've been trying to fluff up the market a little bit. Yeah. We've been throwing different stimuluses at it to try to stimulate that market to not go down. I mean, we've had pauses. We've had, you know, interest rates are down. You're pretty much, hey, look, I'll pay you to get a loan today, right? You know, we may go into negative interest rates, and so a very interesting time for that. And so it still keeps going down. So
absolutely, and I think what's important is while most of our viewers may not be, you know, day trading and seeing things like that, a lot of the companies that are in those markets are affected. I mean, Boeing's down and they move a lot of freight, right? All these manufacturing sectors are down that are all moving a lot of freight. So it's gonna impact their financials, which will ultimately impact. And if buyers aren't buying goods, we're going to see that. But the story that we want to tell today is actually truckload freight volumes in the United States are actually at record levels right now.
Yeah, brokerages are having a blast right now. Yeah. They're so busy. I was talking to actually a company out of Nevada that they have a contract with Nestle. Okay. And they said they hadn't been able to even answer another email because they've been just so slammed with volumes just moving water. So those household goods that everyone's just buying off the shelves right now, you go to every other store, Costco, Walmart's, Publix, all these different stores, you can't find toilet paper, you're having issues with cleaning supplies and different factors. So what's that doing? Supply chains are getting ramped up. So a lot of new opportunities out there right now for people that don't normally have the opportunity to work with a company like Nestle or Clorox.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and show the chart here on Sonar that we've got on the screen here for folks to see. So this is something that's happening right now. This blue line that you see that's just straight up and to the right, that's the outbound volume level for truckload in the United States. So that is going to ultimately impact pretty heavily what's going on. I think my screen blacked out, but we're back. So yeah, that's going up and to the right. So we're seeing really since the late February, early March, I mean, you're talking roughly almost a 15-20% increase.
Yeah, I mean, and then when you break it down even further, because outbound volumes are very significant, but when you want to understand the market, you need a little bit more granularity. And so I mean, we're looking at the van segment of the market that's up almost 20% alone, and then reefers up 8%. So you have a lot of things that are playing into effect there, being, okay, we're at the beginning of a lot of these awarded bids that are out there now. We have produce starting to get into effect now. Those Lakeland, Plant City strawberries are coming up now, and so we have a lot of different factors, but it's really the dry van market that's really pushing this right now.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. You said it earlier, right? There, household goods, bottled water, right? Toilet paper, things those essentials that people are buying up right now.
Right.
Right. So this next chart here that we've got, there's a lot going on. These are the volume levels seasonally. So that blue line that you can see here, let me drag that over here a little bit. So this blue line, way up here. Let's refresh that a little bit. There we go. So this blue line, right where my cursor is, that's 2020. The blue is 2020. The green is 2019 volume levels, and the orange is 2018 volume levels. So you can see here, we're higher than we've ever been in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So and it's this massive spike that doesn't normally happen around here. So everybody's getting their freight moved. Now, there's something to go along with that is we looked at U.S. import shipments last time, but it looks like they're still very suppressed. This right here is the number of U.S. ocean shipments coming into the port of L.A.
Yeah.
I mean, that has just fallen off of a cliff in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, to segue off of what we were talking about last week was really, we were starting to see the effects. We were talking about TCA and then the effects of the inbound container volumes. And so now we're seeing it's staying consistent. We're starting to see some elevations come back, but really it's the same story that we were talking about last week. The container volumes are still down.
Still down.
And so what does that say when the container volumes are down and the trucking volumes are up? I mean, I'm really worried about the inventory levels of some of these warehouses that could potentially in the next couple months, if we keep buying like we are now, are going to be depleted, and then we're going to be really reliant on those imports that are really just in a holding pattern at the port.
So you brought up a really good point. This is something one of our customers, one of our carriers sent this to us the other day. So I'm going to show you a picture that they took. So this right here, if you can see, let's refresh this chart, make it look a little prettier. So this is Allentown, Pennsylvania. I used to move a lot of freight out of Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's a decent market, but it's typically kind of a little bit of a backhaul, not extreme, not like Phoenix, not like Florida. It's got some freight, but it's typically short miles. But there's never this amount of freight. This blue line that just shot up, that's the outbound volume at Allentown. It's never been even close to that high ever.
I mean, you'd really just talk about population density. Allentown, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they are really that DC hub or the distribution point for all of that population in the Northeast.
Yeah.
So you have all of these different trucks that are having to supply all of these people going out, and it's like Black Friday going out for toilet paper and Lysol right now.
Yeah.
So
it's nuts. So in a second, I'm going to show you a picture that was taken from one of our customers, one of our a driver actually drives for one of our carriers, and so it's taken on the phone. I'm going to flash it up here in a second. You're not going to believe this. So Procter & Gamble has a massive distribution center in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when you showed me.
Yeah. This is nuts. So the photo shows it's I'm trying to formulate the words here. Like it's nuts. So they're doing so much volume and sending out so much freight that the line we're not looking at the line at the docks, waiting at the docks. We're not looking at the line to get into the distribution center. We're not even looking at the line on the final road to the distribution center. we're looking at the picture that we're going to flash up is the line to get onto the road that goes to the distribution facility.
Roads. Wow.
I mean, check this out real quick. Let me get it up here on my screen first. All right, it's a little clunky. All right, let's go ahead and flash it up on the screen. All right, so it's kind of hard to see. Again, it was just taken off of one of our carrier's phones. But so this right here, this is the turn-in road here on the right. So the trucks have to turn in there. And this right here is the line of trucks down the highway. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
It goes back forever. You can't even see the end of it. They're just waiting to get into the facility, the road to the facility.
Trailers as long as the eye can see right there. That's for sure.
I mean, that's nuts. I'd hate to be any of these. Well, I hate to be the trucks for sure, but it also stinks to be the cars. They're just stuck there. I mean, you might as well ride your bike.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what brings up another debate, not even a debate, a topic that we were discussing is how do you account for detention when you have that? Detention isn't counted till you get checked in at the gate. Yeah. Nothing's going to say that you've been in traffic for, let's say, 2-3 hours maybe. I mean.
Well, this is something to where, so sonar will tell you about as real time as the data gets, and it's really good for telling you where the pressure is and where the capacity is. But drivers need to know to take account for this. Like you said, like you're not going to get paid for this. You're just sitting there.
Right.
So that's something to think about when you're beginning to accept loads to these facilities that you may not normally go to that are moving this inventory. Be mindful of this. You might need to ask for a premium to get paid. Same thing with brokers. You're going to need to negotiate that so you don't lose money for the carriers asking for that.
But what we talked about earlier was opportunity. And so when you have situations like this, what that screams to me is that if I understand that, if I have the day-to-day information that Sonar tells me that volumes are through the roof, look at all that capacity coming into that market. If I have a customer in that market, I can really push down rates. I can try to expand my margins here so I can really, get a new opportunity, help, my business out. And so really that's what that screams to me is just an oversupply of capacity. If I have freight, it's not going to be hard to find a truck.
No, totally. So people have been asking us, like, listen, if the imports are down, if rail volume's down, if there's less freight coming into the country, because roughly 70% of all truckload freight at some point is on a ship. 70% of everything that's on a truck is on a ship at some point. And we know that imports into LA are about 1/5 or 1/3 of where they typically are. Yeah. Total imports into the country are down almost 50%, not quite, but almost. So why is truckload volume going up? Well, these warehouses have, I believe the rate is about 1.5 months worth of inventory that they keep, warehouse distribution centers. Yeah. So what's happening is when people go and they buy all these, the toilet paper and the paper towels and the Lysol and the hand sanitizer, you're buying the stock for a month to a month and a half out from now. Because it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for stuff on ship from, say, Asia, most of it China, to get to the United States. So it takes 3 to 4 weeks for that to happen. So that's why that inventory is held for about 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. So everybody that's buying all this freight, all this truckload volume is moving because they're buying everything off the shelves and they're having to resupply the stores with what they have, but they're supplying it and people are buying what's supposed to be purchased in late March and in April, but they're doing it now.
Everyone that I've been talking to, they're waiting for the other shoe to fall per se, because the moment that, they're just really, it almost feels like they're consolidating. They're bringing in all of their excess storage that these warehouses held into action so that they can be pushed out to the stores pretty quickly. And so the moment that we're buying at a pace that can't be scaled.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
And so when this happens where we lose out on the additional warehousing or not the additional storage of the inventory we have, there's already a backup in the ports, like you said. So there's going to be a lull there. I hate to say it, but the volumes are going to drop off. Yep. And then we're going to have to really start to be doubling down on the ports, getting those containers flipped and out. and then we're going to need to be getting new ships to be coming in. But let's throw an asterisk in there. Okay, coronavirus is at rampage. Everyone's being sent home. Who's going to be working the docks? No one. How are you going to be getting your goods?
Yeah. I mean, freight has to move. People need to eat, right?
Yeah.
People need to eat. Medical supplies has to move. So we can't go cold turkey, but I think you're right. There's definitely going to be an adjustment period.
Yeah. I don't think we have the answers. I don't think anyone really knows.
Either.
I mean,
but Sonar will tell us when it happens.
Yes. Yes. No, exactly. Sonar will let us know when those volumes start to come back down.
Yep. So what are any of your customers, like, or people that you're talking to? I know you talk to a lot of folks. I talk to a lot of folks. What are they saying right now? What's going on in their business?
So really, the customers that don't deal with retail, they are seeing a tightening in capacity. Those trucks they normally use are off the market. So those dedicated lanes, these trucks are going to the spot market. I think tender rejection rates for outbound tender rejections for the United States is up an additional 2% over last week. Yeah. So I think we're at about 7.7% tender rejections rate for the entire United States. And so we're seeing that spot market rates are more enticing to these carriers. We have these new, I guess you can call them cost plus type loads that are coming out that people like Nestle are reaching out and trying to fill capacity for. You got the people on that road that are just sitting there. Yeah. So there's that aspect of things, and then there's the other aspect where people are kind of making a killing right now if they had those relationships already set up. Yeah.
No, totally, and I think that's really, really important because, and I've been talking to folks too, and FreightWaves recently we put a pause on travel, so there's no travel right now. If you can avoid it for work-related things. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to some customers, and they were like, "Yeah, we've canceled travel. Most of them are going remote." A buddy at US Express said that they just ordered laptops for pretty much all employees. Not all employees, but most. Mm-hmm. And they're supposed to be here on Friday, and they're going to start working remote on Monday.
I mean, we might be working remote. We're going to be doing a podcast here from my apartment, and you're going to be Skyped in.
Yeah.
So
we're going to be like, hey, with Sonar, we're going to be like filming it on our iPhones here. Yeah. I don't think the sound and camera guys probably wouldn't allow that.
Yeah.
They have way too much pride for that. I don't blame them. Awesome. So we've talked a lot about how the virus is impacting the West Coast. Like the Port of LA, it's taking a nosedive, right? But truckload volume's doing the thing. Do carriers outside of the West Coast, are they going to see an impact? Are they going to feel that things are falling off? What do you think?
Well, I forget the exact percentage, but I want to say that a massive amount of population is on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And so yes, West Coast has typically been the trade routes for a lot of these distributors, but I think that once the coronavirus really takes place, like it already has in New York, have already condemned a piece of northern New York where the suburbs are that they're quarantining. Yeah. So you start to see that, and so once the population stops absorbing as much goods, I don't think you're going to see the volumes going out there, and you're going to have a lot of East Coast players starting to look for other options.
No, totally. Go ahead and flip to the screen real quick on Sonar. So what we've got here is, this is a tree map of all the major ports in the United States. There's way more ports than this, but these are the biggest ones. So these are all, like, typically the port of LA is massively larger. So the way you read this, you read it from top left to bottom right. Top left would be the largest. So this number on the bottom, that's 6,022, that's how many shipments came into Elizabeth, New Jersey as of, I believe, yesterday, right?
Yep.
And that would be a 23% decline week over week. So 5,600 out of LA. LA is normally like 15 to 18,000 a day, and it's at 5,600.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing. They're all down. Elizabeth, New Jersey, which is right around where the New York is, that's down. Yeah. Savannah, which is the main port in the southeast, is down a little bit. Nothing crazy, but it's still down a little bit. Miami is down, so you got Florida volumes that are going to get even worse than they already are.
Yeah.
And then you've got Houston, which is the big Texas port, down 15%. Seattle, there you got your Pacific Northwest, so that's getting drained. I mean, everything apart, you got an increase in 3 of 3 ports, Baltimore, Brooklyn, and Mobile, Alabama, none of which are of any substantial size.
Yeah, I think this paints a really disturbing picture. I mean, one, LA has been knocked off its throne.
Yeah.
That's been trending all year. We've been reporting about that all year. But for Elizabeth to now be number 1, it says a lot.
Number 1 with a 23% decline too.
Right.
I mean, think about that.
It's very significant, and it's very worrisome, because now you see drivers not even wanting to go to LA. No, I don't even want to touch California right now.
Right.
So I mean, there's a lot of issues. People are going to have to get creative, but what do you do in a market like this if you're riding the I-10?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's your business model, that's your business model. So
sure.
That's the tough questions that I think our data provides, and that companies have to start looking themselves in the mirror. Is, okay, if this starts to continue, what do we do? And if you're acting on data from 30 days ago, how is that going to help you?
Yeah.
You're gonna waste a half a day just calling people. Okay, well, are you gonna take this load to LA? No? Okay, well, what are you gonna tell your customer? I got to give it back. I can't find capacity. So, I mean, that's the hard questions that people are bringing up to me. Is they just don't know.
Right, and it's sort of scary. But I think that there are going to be opportunities whenever there are times like this, and we'll feel this wave at some point. It's going to come through. It'll come through on truckload volumes, and it'll force them down because there will be less freight. But there will still be opportunities. It's not all doom and gloom.
Yep.
I think,
no.
We're going to continue to see that. While some of the port cities might be really tanked for a while, I think there will be other areas or other markets that trucks that typically rely on all their contracted freight will just have to shift to at some point. And that's something that we'll be able to see, to have that sort of visibility.
And it's interesting, something that it's kind of out of left field here, but it kind of plays in with this, is that I was talking to someone who works for a private equity firm.
Okay.
And they were expecting a very slow time right now. That's really where the beginning of the year is usually slowing down, but they've actually seen a big increase in M&A. And then, I mean, Blue Grace, again, just acquired Anthem.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see that people are we going to start consolidating? Are people that usually, are they going to have to diversify, and by doing that, they acquire? So it's actually interesting that we're starting to see that ramp up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting point, because ultimately this is going to affect the economics of a lot of businesses. Mm-hmm. Somebody always loses, and somebody always comes out on top. It'll be interesting to see how all that plays out here. So what, if we start working from home, do you have a setup at home? You got a big office that you're going to be able to work out of? You're going to be productive?
Oh, so
because I got 3 screens here at the office that I work off of. Yeah. Because I got a big old curved monitor, another monitor, and then my laptop.
Yeah.
I'm a prima donna. I need a lot.
Yeah, I already told him, when you start seeing Luke walking around Market Street with his big old curved screen down at his side, the world's coming down.
Hey, listen, let me tell you. So looking at sonar charts on this big curved monitor, it's a game changer. You see things you didn't know existed. It opens your eyes to the world. I don't know what world, but they're open to something. Yeah. So
no, but I've actually had a little experience with working from home. So luckily, I know how much of a rule you need to set when you get up. You still get dressed. You're not just sticking in your pajamas. Yeah. It's still going to the office. And so at my previous position working at TMS, I was fortunate to do that for about 2 years. So I've got the roll down if I need to do it.
Fantastic. Awesome. No, I think that's a good point. We'll be productive. We'll get through it. It's not the end of the world. Folks, thank you for tuning in. First off, I don't know if you know this, but I call Kyle here Mr. Miami. The reason why, and I'm very upset, he's not from Miami, he's from Tampa, Florida. But the reason is he always wears these really big, baggy, long, Miami-like shirts. You know what I'm talking about? Those silky, just tropical.
Maybe
They're
one of these,
great. They look amazing. And it's something that you would wear in Miami.
Yeah.
And he's not wearing one today. The only day that he's not wearing one, especially when it's beautiful outside right now.
The sun's actually out.
It's actually out. It's not raining. It was like almost 70 degrees today, which is great. So, but anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in to another episode of With Sonar. We'd love to hear your feedback. How is the coronavirus affecting your freight or supply chain? If you have questions about Sonar, about the data that we're seeing, and you want to learn more, you can scan that QR code on the bottom right corner of your screen and we'll set up a demo with you, or just leave us a comment. Kyle and I will go through the comments after the show, and we'll go ahead and we'll answer them for you, so don't be afraid, ask anything. You can always connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to start a conversation. Thank you again for tuning in. Be safe out there, be healthy, and we will see you next Wednesday at 7 o'clock for another episode of With Sonar. Have a fantastic evening.